Sure.
All right, it's recording. That was quick.
We're back, episode 32, the Quarantine Chronicles, and we are talking about The Last Dance, episode 3 and 4. Well, sorry, did I say episode 32? I meant 33. With the man himself, Instant Classic.
Oh man, that's old
OG
school.
from the YWC,
Instant
like
classic.
throwback
It's
to
old
2007.
school. What's up?
Well, I watched your videos before I even knew you.
Oh, I appreciate you, man.
Like literally, me and Classic met via Breach saying, "Hey, I have a guy to room with you during WrestleMania 30," and I joined their clique, like the
Dude,
unofficial clique.
he was you were a rookie that year for sure.
I was the fourth man.
You passed out kind of early some of those nights. It's like, yeah, he's just getting primed for these. Now I'm pretty sure you're good. You can probably go all night, but it was some funny times back then for sure.
2:30, 3:30 was late for me.
Oh man, no man, we just getting started.
Oh man, no, what a terrible, what a great trip slash like chaos of WrestleMania 30. But
Probably the best.
Mike, what do you want to say about this?
No, I just listened to WrestleMania 30 because I remember like all the videos of you would fall asleep in other people's beds and you would pretend to wake up right as like people said something about it, and you were truly a rookie. And I
The
think
best,
what?
or the best one is I woke. There's a video of it. I woke up. I grabbed a slice of pizza, ate it, went back to sleep in the Boston
Yes.
Brothers bed.
I mean, I wasn't even that bad on my first trip. I mean, that's crazy.
Tell him, Mike.
But
Like I stayed up for that Kaiju Big Battle show. We got out of that show at like I don't even know, like 3:30 or something like that. Like that's I mean, you kept saying I was gonna fall asleep, and I was up. I was ready to go. I got my hour of sleep, and then went to Access in the morning. Like, so I don't. I mean, I'm not saying that I did better than you at WrestleMania for my first Mania, but I'm saying that I did better than you for my first Mania. But that's besides the point.
I don't know, dude. You kind of just wandered off to your back to your hotel room all those other nights. So
I'm sorry.
good night. I also, by the way, I ordered that Kaiju Big Battle show, and I probably was the only one that watched it. And
You were literally the only one that bought that.
I stayed up till 6 in the morning or something.
You're
Jeez.
probably still the only one that bought that show.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about Michael Jordan, the documentary, episode 3, episode 4. Classic. Pretty much, you take this one because you lived through this. You watched basketball in this era, so you're gonna be our guy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was just kind of like a brief recap. I thought these are two, interesting episodes. Like I see what they're doing. They're like getting like these primer episodes out of the way. Like the first one was like, all about Michael as far as just like come up and everything in the college. And of course, episode 2 was about Scottie Pippen. These two episodes were about Dennis Rodman and Phil Jackson. But what's cool is they still weed in like, what was going on with the Bulls during that time period, whether it be like 98 or even going back, they're kind of showing all the stuff back in like the early 90s and whatnot. As far as episode 3 with Dennis Rodman, I thought it was cool. I mean, I definitely recommend if you haven't seen it already, definitely watch his 30 for 30 because it's really good. And we've kind of seen some of that stuff that was on there for sure. But it's still just interesting just to see, his dynamic from coming from the Detroit Pistons and coming from that bad boys mentality, and then kind of weeding his way out through different teams. I think he was with the Spurs in between that, and just seeing him jump to the Bulls and just the fact that they were probably the perfect fit for him because they had like giant egos when it comes to the coach for Phil Jackson or even Michael Jordan, obviously the biggest ego of all time. I think it was definitely perfect fit for him to come in there and to kind of fit himself in, and exactly what they were looking for. Like before, early '90s, they had Horace Grant, who was in there, just kind of go in there, play good defense, get the rebounds, be able to play that power forward position. And obviously, he left and went to the Orlando Magic. That's like the first iteration for me when it came to like fandom when it comes to NBA was like the Orlando Magic. But then they kind of slid in with Dennis Rodman, and I feel like he fit like perfectly with that team, just exactly what they were looking for, like a hard nosed dude who knew his role. He wasn't going out there and trying to be a superstar. He exactly knew what his role was, and he played it very well. And I mean, obviously they won from it for sure.
Did you Do you like the back and forth of the documentary? How it goes to like '97, they'll flashback to people's career, show a clip, flashback to like going up against Detroit and like building that whole story arc of them finally beating them in the conference championships and then winning their first title.
Yeah, I mean, the direction is cool. It reminds me, not as gratuitous as you would see, but it definitely reminds me of watching like a Quentin Tarantino movie where it's just like, you're getting your present day stuff, but then you're flashing back, to something that's going on. And, a lot of times when you're watching his movies, his flashbacks might be like 10 or 15-minute scenes that are just kind of taken out of context from like the whole story, but it then wraps around and kind of makes sense and whatnot. And that's kind of how I feel with this documentary. It's just, it's cool seeing, them talking about the stuff that happened in '98, but kind of how it got to that point. But then you're going back and you're seeing the history when it came to, the Bulls. And again, in the early '90s, where they had Jordan, who was, basically trying to figure out how, how to win in the league and trying to figure out how to, trust his teammates. Obviously, they had before Phil Jackson, they had, goodness gracious, I'm losing my mind here with his coach, Doug Collins. And Doug Collins was a great coach, and he really let Michael, do what he wants to do. And if you go back and look at those stats from like 89 and 90, it's just absolutely insane, the type of stuff that Michael was able to do. But the main thing he had to figure out was just basically how to win and how to trust his teammates. And you can definitely see that with like, the Pistons series, and of course in '91, and of course the Lakers series when they won their first championship. Again, it was just definitely interesting to see. I mean, obviously you kind of, I didn't live through that particular point. I started watching basketball '92, which I'll probably get into like the next couple of episodes with the Blazers series. That's like my first. Yeah, it's like my first take when it came to basketball. But again, I like the way they're bouncing back and forth. I think the direction, the guy who created this documentary, I think he's done a really good job with it. And just a side note, the soundtrack is so good with this, man. Like I'm just enjoying like all the different songs they're throwing into it.
So I heard that the last like two episodes, 9 and 10, are gonna kind of like having hit a crossroad. Like they're going to like connect and like go like they're gonna meet up at the last two episodes. So like how they're going like, but from the '92 to the '98 and kind of like flipping back and forth the time periods. I heard that 9 and 10 they kind of like meet up at the end there. So
I'm waiting to see, because I know Michael, right before the documentary came out, he was like, when people see this, they're gonna probably think I'm a really, really bad person. I'm gonna have different feelings about me, and I'm actually waiting for that moment to happen, because so far, I mean, it's just like it's Michael Jordan. Like this is nothing new. Like this is the dude who's just he wants to win, and that's definitely understandable. So I'm waiting for that moment to happen where it's like, okay, he seems like a super jerk, even though we kind of know he is, but I'm waiting for them to show that moment.
Yeah, if anything, like especially from these episodes, the one thing I took was like more than ever, Michael is the good guy, and the Detroit Pistons are the biggest heels in the business. Like
Absolutely.
like the first two episodes, I hated Jerry Krause like no other. These episodes, I hated the Detroit Pistons like no other, and I had no idea. I had no idea that Dennis Rodman was on the Pistons during like this time, and he was like the biggest rival for the Bulls, and I had no idea that was a thing. So this was like all brand new to me, and that was interesting because I was like, whoa, like the biggest. Biggest like wall, I guess you can say, and biggest like hurdle that they had to jump over the Bulls was the Detroit Pistons, and Dennis Rodman was a part of that, and then he was later a part of, the like later on in the Bulls team. So that was just like it was just crazy to kind of like realize that.
I would, yeah. What's funny is, they definitely touched on that, and I mean, I think any Michael Jordan fan, any Bulls fan, they just automatically hate the Pistons just because Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer and all those
That
guys. I mean,
guy.
they were just absolutely jerks, for sure. And there was a little bit of revisionist history when they were interviewing Isaiah Thomas, and from what I've heard, I've never heard him speak about he said that he got when they lost in 1990. Jordan came up to them when the Bulls lost. Jordan came up to them and shook their hands like, congratulations, good luck, on into going to the finals. And then the next year, the Pistons got swept by the Bulls in the conference finals. And of course, that classic scene of seeing all of the Pistons walk across the court, walk in front of the Bulls bench and not even say anything, not even acknowledge them.
That was wild.
Yeah. And we've seen that, many times of that, but I've never heard the story of, and when Isaiah was like, we got that from the Celtics because the Celtics did something similar. I have never heard that of all the time he's told that story. That's the first time I've ever heard him say that the Celtics did that to him first. And even then, they never did it as gratuitous as that. I just still think, even to this day, that's just like a BS moment for sure. And, again, growing up a Jordan fan, you just kind of learn to hate Isaiah Thomas. I've kind of softened just a little bit with like the last couple years, just with his like analysis and whatnot that he does on TV. But even then, it's just going back and seeing that, just like, dude, like that was so wrong.
There was something.
Hitting the wrong Isaiah Thomas. They're hating the wrong person right now.
As far as who? The Bulls?
The wrong player. People are tweeting the wrong player.
Oh, they're doing Isaiah Thomas from the Celtics. Yeah, for sure. They got different spelling for sure. And I don't even think IT. That's IT. I don't even think Zeke is his nickname. I don't think Zeke is actually on Twitter. So yeah, it's kind of funny to hear him get all that hate.
And I like how they showed like, oh, here's an interview. Jordan, watch this. What do you think? What he said? He like literally giving live reactions on an interview, which is like probably the best part. It's like, oh yeah, he's full of shit.
Right. And then you had a guy like Horace Grant who was wearing his little NBA Cares polo, and he just says that the Pistons was just straight bitches. And I absolutely so good.
But I didn't know that what was it? I didn't know everything was gonna culminate in 9 and 10. So what do you mean by that? They're gonna end it off at the last dance and then they're gonna all meet up? Is that what you're saying?
What?
It's 9 and 10, right? You said
9 and 10 is when the timelines are going to cross. They're going to meet up in 9 and 10.
I got you. I was thinking, I'm an idiot. I was thinking fast forward, like they're gonna like do like an in room. Everyone's in the same room.
No. Like basically the right now they've got like the first half of the three the championships and the like the 1998. So like the first 3 years and the last 3 years, they're kind of like discussing it and like giving the backstories on the different players and stuff. And then at one point, which is going to be the last 2 episodes, they're going to kind of like line up. So we're going to be talking about June 1998 and June 1998 at the same time in the last like 2 episodes. So it's going to like meet up, and it's kind of like there's like a plan, and like it's going to eventually come as one down the line.
I think the next episode they're going to talk about the Dream Team, which again, that's like my introduction to basketball was watching the Dream Team play in the 9-2 finals. So I'm definitely excited to see that for sure. And then of course they're probably going to touch on like Jordan's first. I'm going to put air quotes on this. You can't see this, but his first retirement. They're probably going to touch on that in the next couple episodes as well.
I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, I have my conspiracy theories on that, but we'll see what they talk about for sure.
Like they're definitely like if you watch the intro to Last Dance, they definitely throw that up on the screen.
I'm excited to see it though.
I'm trying to. Okay, so here's me as 23-year-old me trying to figure this all out. So I know that obviously you have the first 3 championships, you have the last 3 championships, and I knew that he retired at one point. And my whole thing is, I know he plays baseball for the White Sox at some point, and that's what I'm trying to figure out right now. When is that, like in this timeline, when does he go to baseball for a little bit?
So I mean, he retired. Again, I'm putting air quotes. He retired in '93 after that 3rd championship, and that was right at really after his father got killed, which just was like super tragic and whatnot. I have my theories on why he retired, but that's definitely probably part of the reasons for sure. But he signed with the AAA ball club for the White Sox, so that was the Birmingham Barons, I think was the name of the team.
Yeah.
It's the team, if you've seen, everyone's seen Space Jam. It's the team he plays for in Space Jam. So yeah, he did the AAA team, and then he played for the White Sox. He didn't. I think he played. It was either like a spring training game
Yeah, I
or
don't think he actually played for like.
yeah. And even if he did play for the White Sox, it wasn't any. It may have been like one series or something like that. It wasn't anything too crazy. But yeah, it would have probably been like around like spring of like '94 or so where he did that.
So that's probably going to be like episode 7, probably.
I'm pretty sure they have to cover his gambling because that's like
Yeah.
that's why I feel like he retired is because he had so much going on with his gambling. Like I feel like the heat was really coming down on him, and I feel like David Stern was like, "Dude, you need to like get out of here for a bit. So instead of us suspending you for this gambling stuff, just get out of here. And we'll take care of things, and then you'll come back a little bit later." So
Hmm.
again, they're gonna cover his gambling issues and whatnot. I feel that for sure. I don't think they're gonna say that particular, but they definitely have to talk about that for sure.
The one thing that was
So
like really crazy about like Dennis Rodman was when they like basically said like, okay, like you know take some time, like go to Vegas or whatever, you know, like and then he just stayed. You know, he just
Right.
like didn't come back. And like they had that like thing in the beginning of the second episode or like the fourth episode, where it just like, you know, it had that count that like that ticker where it would like it counted down or counted like the amount of time he was gone, and then it just kept going and going and going, and then like they said, oh, you know, Michael went and got him and like dragged them out, and like that's just like, I mean, it's just like I knew he was like wild, but you know what I mean, like that was just crazy.
So you know he did that in the finals as well that year in the '98 finals, which hopefully they talk about as us as wrestling fans. I hope they do talk about it. But in the '98 finals, I think it was after game 3 or 4, they were supposed to have practice, and he skipped practice so that way he can show up on Nitro that Monday. And he can be able to attack DDP, which I think is really awesome. So hopefully they talk about that as well.
I mean, that's just bananas.
what, 9 to 10 episodes going to be just straight chaos.
Yeah. That's why, like I said, I feel like these, even though these episodes are really good, like I'm thoroughly enjoying this documentary. I feel like it's living up to the hype. I just know it's gonna get crazier on here, so I'm very excited for that. I feel like, man, if I had access to all 10 episodes, I would probably just watch those things right now.
Oh yeah,
Like
definitely.
I'm not a big fan of binging because I like to kind of savor the moment and like take a little time to think about what's going to happen next. Obviously, this is like real life stuff, so it's not like like a television show or anything like that at all. But I really feel like I would just completely binge this. I know I think I've seen like people out there where like they have like the whole season. They must have get like a bootleg or something. But still, like I'm enjoying watching this week by week. You know, talking with everybody. It's been a lot of fun.
So my question to you, because I know Justin watches this on Netflix, like on like the day after. What do you think about like the commercials? Because I feel like it takes me out of it. Like it's good because sometimes you got to use the bathroom or whatever, but it's like you get so into it, and then it's just like, oh, now there's a commercial. It's like, oh man.
I'm from the mold where I watch television shows with commercials. So like yeah, like we've gotten used to like the Hulu Netflix style where you don't really have commercials. You can just kind of watch it on there. But obviously when I watch sports have commercials to them. And then, even like wrestling you're watching and then all these other shows, growing up and whatnot, I'm so used to commercials that it's not a big deal. Obviously, yeah, sometimes it'll get in the groove and then, just hit a commercial like Jesus, like, oh man, I gotta wait 3 minutes on here. But
Yeah.
a lot of the times, at least with this documentary, you can kind of see when that commercial is gonna happen. And again, I feel like they do the right thing where they find like the right moment to take those commercials. And the good thing is they aren't that long. I feel like they're maybe like, 90 seconds, maybe two
Yeah.
minutes long.
I love watching a no commercial. I just watch 2 episodes straight. I'm done. And I just take a break off Twitter for like that Sunday night. I'm just like, all right, I'm done with this.
Yeah, and that's the one thing is like, with us not having sports or whatnot, I miss those, those live tweeting moments, and we haven't had those in probably like 2 months or so. And just this, just seeing all the different memes, and then of course seeing people kind of reminisce about, either watching this or even people that's kind of watching it for the first time is really cool. Kind of all watching this together for sure. But obviously, like I said, that those commercials kind of throw a little jab here and there with it, but it really hasn't taken my interest or my enjoyment away from watching this.
Yeah. I mean, it's like like you said, because like sports is gone, or like yeah, at the moment, like, everyone is sitting down, and like you can see everyone sitting down and watching the same thing, and it's like it's one of those things where you like don't think about it as it's happening like every day, like a year ago today like people were just like watching baseball, like whatever, but like this is something where it's like we have nothing, and finally we were given something, and now everyone is just like enjoying this like one thing together, and we can enjoy it like together because that's the only thing that's going on. Everybody's watching it, so it's kind of like crazy to just see people getting back into the groove of watching an event, I guess you can say, like this, and like tweeting about it.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel like if you have, I mean, obviously, you have that advantage watching on Netflix or whatnot. You can kind of just breeze through it. But I feel like if you had that style where people kind of binge through it on there, you might have a trend for like, one day, maybe two, because everyone kind of watches it around the same time. But then after that, it kind of goes away. With this, you're there every single Sunday night, being able to kind of make it an event
Hmm.
every single week, and it's been cool.
That's true. Especially like the last two episodes, I think will be like big.
Oh yeah, for
Kind of feel.
sure, absolutely. I didn't even look. I wanted to go see what the ratings were. I'm pretty sure they're out there. I have to go check to see what the ratings were compared to last week. Because I feel like, obviously last week was really big. I feel like it'll probably go down a little bit this week. But yeah, I feel like once that last week comes, it'll probably be really big again.
I'm probably gonna end up rewatching all of them right before like the last two.
Yeah, I started episode 3 again today, and I stopped. I was like, let me just wait until the first 8 are out there, and I'll kind of binge through that and just kind of prep myself for the last two. I wanted to rewatch the Phil Jackson episode was really good, because a lot of people they know Phil Jackson as a winner, and they got to see kind of where he came from.
Hmm.
It was cool to see the assistant Tex Winter, which he doesn't get a lot of praise at all, but he's the guy who created the triangle offense, and it was really cool to kind of see him get like his praise, because this is a guy who won 6 titles with with the triangle with the Bulls, and then won another 5 with the Lakers. So it was really cool to kind of see him get his just due on here.
Yeah, when they had that graphic where they showed like the triangles moving and like explained exactly what that was like, I don't know, I just sat there and I was like, it's just like the little things that I don't think about when it comes to basketball. Like, you know, like that's just something that's so like mathematical, like so technical. You know what I mean?
It's outdated today. Like
Yeah, of
today's
course.
game, you can't use that at all. And he tried it. Phil Jackson, when he was like an assistant, or not assistant, but an executive with the Knicks a couple years ago, he wanted his coaches to put it into their style of play, and it just doesn't work. The game is way too fast and up and down the court shooting threes or whatnot. But at that time period where you had like the big guy, either with Shaq or whoever in the paint, and you can kind of swing it out to your forwards, it definitely worked. I mean, obviously, you got 11 titles off of it.
So, what would you say in the Michael Jordan LeBron debate? Who would you say is your favorite out of the two?
My favorite.
Or who do you think is the best? Who do you think is your favorite? Because like that could be two different things.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, for sure. I mean, the best I would say Jordan, man. It's just I don't know. It's just always like, if you had to start a team, who would you pick? It's just, LeBron is like he's like the best like all around player I've ever seen. Like somebody you can put out there for any position. He can do everything. Not only just score, but he can rebound. He can obviously throw assists like magic. He's just probably like the smartest player that I've probably ever seen play the game. But when you need like that killer some out there who wants to go out there and get a W, I mean it's definitely Jordan. Like not even a question about it.
especially because like seeing like the Pistons pretty much like beat up on Michael Jordan, and then like thinking about how if you had a team that did that to someone like LeBron today, like I feel like that would be, I feel like immediately he just like kind of not back down, but he would just kind of
Yeah,
like,
I love how they took that shot as like, yeah, like you literally you could fight before you got like a technical.
Yeah, I mean
Now
the
it's like
dead dudes were
yeah,
out there
like they have to
scrapping for sure.
pick their chosen one and like make sure no one touches them. I'm like, damn, dude,
Right, just
shots fired.
a forcer just to go out there, and his whole thing was just to kind of beat up the star player. Like that's what they had back then, and you could get away with a lot before you get any type of like reprimands from the refs or get any type of technicals or whatnot. But today's game, everyone as soon as they're touched, they're going and complaining to the ref, and as much as I love LeBron, I think he's one of the best of all time. I feel like that would be something that we would probably see countless and countless times. As soon as he gets hit, he's going to complain about a foul. That's something I don't want to see in the game at all.
And now from here we go obviously to next week with the Dream Team, and that kind of like a lot of people saying that that's when Michael Jordan became like the global star
Oh
that
yeah.
like he is today. So that's going to be interesting to see how they talk about that and kind of like
So
you know
you're telling me those jerseys are going to cost way more next week?
um,
The Dream Team jerseys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're classic jerseys. I mean, yeah, Mike, you're completely right. Like that's when he became. I mean, he was like a global superstar then, at least to like I guess basketball fans. But yeah, that's when like all of those guys became like mega stars. It's like when the NBA kind of really took off. And I mean, honestly, you're gonna see footage of like when they're playing those games with the Dream Team. You're gonna see like they're on a free throw line. Like no, he's not shooting. Like Jordan's just like on the stand on the side of the free throw line, and the other players from the team are literally walking up to him to shake his hand while the other team is shooting a free throw. It's like
yeah.
insane. Like you'll see dudes on the bench, they'll have like their cameras out taking pictures of these guys. It was a moment for sure. Like I said, that's like when I started watching basketball, and just to see that, it's gonna be fun to relive through that again.
I think I'm gonna end up buying one of these 1992 Dream Team warm-up jackets with Jordan on the back. Like I just like looking at it now. Like that just looks like it just like looks so sweet. And like obviously like seeing it on
You know what
um
stuff I see in the documentary, like hats and warm jackets, like I want all of it.
Yeah, all the starter hats, they were so crazy, man. I think one of the hats that I saw in the last one, it was actually from the '98 year, but I had one of those for sure. All those classic stuff. I feel like if they kind of re-released that right now, I mean, they would just sell out like instantly.
I'm surprised Jordan doesn't just drop like merch like every Sunday. Like, oh, we're bringing this back for this one day only.
I know he had a shock drop last Sunday, right
Last
at
mhm.
9 o'clock. Yeah, they did a shock drop. I don't know if he had one this week.
He didn't have one this week, which I was shocked. I'm like, I swear, if he drops Jordan ones on episode 910, I'm gonna lose my mind.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I'm looking they have on the NBA store they have like different Jordan shoes and they look like pretty sweet looking. Like some of these ones that they just have on here, I didn't realize that they sold shoes on here,
Do they
but
have like Bulls like Jordan jerseys on there right now?
they have
'Cause normally you can't get
um
those.
they have the black one, they have the white one, and they have the red one.
Is
And
it
then they
a
have the
Nike one or
USA.
is it Mitchell and Ness? Does it say?
Mitchell and Ness for all of them.
Okay, so like $300 then.
Yeah,
Like
they're $300. That's the
Shit,
thing. Like,
it's
they
worth
don't
it, man.
sell the replicas anymore.
It's
yeah,
worth it, honestly.
when when we went to for Revolution in February, we went to the United Center store, and like I think like everyone was like looking around, and like they had Pippen and they had Rodman, and all the Jordan ones. There was like one of each kind, and they were all like locked up with like that like cable, and like they were just like off in the corner. Locked up with the security thing where you had to like ask them like to undo it, and they were all over like $300. It was just insane to see. And this was like in February. So I can only imagine, what it would be like now. That's why when I looked at the Dream Team like warm-up jacket, that's only 130. So it's like, it's a lot cheaper because, Jordan stuff is going crazy now. So
Oh yeah, his stuff is gonna sell like crazy. But yeah, if you pick up some of that USA basketball, the Dream Team stuff, I mean, definitely, man, it's like collectibles item for sure.
So I think this is it.
yeah, that's it. We'll be back next week with 5 and 6.
Reliving classics childhood, pretty much.
It's so much fun. Absolutely. I posted a picture. I wish I still had it, but they were like VHS, if you guys even know what VHS is.
I
They
know
have
what VHS
VHS.
is.
Hey man, some people don't. Some
I know it's
people have
crazy.
no clue at all. But I had Michael Jordan. I had it was one called Michael Jordan Come Fly With Me from like 1989 or something like that. That was one that I got that year that I became a fan. It was in '92, and I literally watched it every single day, like during the summer. Like every single day, I watched that thing. And then the first one that I got that was released, it was called Airtime. Michael Jordan Airtime. I think I just saw it on like Amazon Prime or something. And again, I watched that thing like till like the thing faded out, like for sure. And just kind of be able to watch that stuff, showing on ESPN now and kind of seeing the stuff I saw back in '92 and '93. It's just been awesome for sure.
The one thing, real quick, like now that I think about it, that I kind of like watching this documentary, and seeing how crazy the people like in Chicago Stadium and now like the United Center were going like at the time. And then like I went to a game right before like pretty much everything like went to the crapper recently a couple months ago. So like seeing and now that I think about it, it was against the Charlotte Hornets. So that was pretty cool. Michael Jordan's team versus Michael Jordan's team. Anyway, like just seeing how like crazy like they were going back then, and still people like will like even though they're not good, they're still like filling it. Not like for the most part not completely sold out, but they're still like going crazy. They're still cheering. It's not like they're going and like being quiet about it, but it's just like I don't know. It was just like cool to like watch this documentary having like just recently gone to my first Bulls game. So that was like pretty cool to think about and see like the fans and see like just like the classic footage and the classic like jerseys and clothing, I guess you can say. So yeah.
It's weird every time I see Michael Jordan, like every time they show a clip, I'm like, I wonder how much that jersey would go for that he's wearing.
Oh, I mean like over $10,000, maybe even in the millions, you can say.
Oh,
Yeah, I
man.
think it all depends on like the actual game they had. If it's something where he dropped like 50 or 60 points, then yeah, it definitely goes for a lot for sure.
Like the shot,
Oh,
I was like, oh man.
there was a shot of Rodman walking away, and or no, it was he was signing like an autograph or two, and then he just like gave the kid a pair of shoes, and I was like, what? Like, could you like where's that kid right now? That kid right now should come out. He's probably like what, like 30, 40 years old, whatever. He should come out now and be like, these are the shoes that were in the documentary. Like, look at them now. Like, I still have them. I didn't sell them. You know what I mean? Like, where's this kid
Right.
now?
Yeah, and they do that. Like NBA players, they do that all the time now. But I mean, obviously, they weren't on like a superstar level team like the Bulls were. So yeah, I could
Yeah.
definitely see if that guy can come out and show that off. That would be definitely awesome.
But all right, well, uh, thank you, Brandon, obviously for being on this week,
For
and
sure.
hopefully we'll be on next week when we watch 5 and 6. And yeah, that's it. Justin, you got anything else to say?
That's it.
All
We're out of
right,
here. 92 when I was born. I don't know.
92.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah,
well,
man.
we'll talk to you again after a while.
Thanks, Brian.